Have you got some fencing that needs replacing, or would you like to install some new fencing? Well, you've got loads of options today. You've got traditional wooden posts, you've got a new product called Dura posts, which are like a metal post, or you've got something like this, traditional concrete posts and concrete gravel boards. Now, I've been installing these for years and never had any problems. So today on Fix It with Fowler, I'm going to use my wealth of experience and give you some really good pointers and tips to show you how to install this and make sure the job goes really smooth and it's millimeter perfect. To work out how much fencing you're going to need for your length of fence, if you take a measurement and then divide it by 1.8 meters, that will give you roughly how many panels you need and also how many posts. Don't forget, you're going to need a post for each end of the fence as well. The next thing you need to work out is the overall height of your fence and the length of your fence posts. So I've gone for a traditional 6-foot panel or a 1.8 meter panel, a 1-foot concrete gravel board, which is 30 centimeters. So that means we're going to need a post that is at least 2.7 meters in length. Now, they do come in set measurements, and the reason we need that is you're going to need at least 60 centimeters in the ground, and that will give you a really firm anchor. The final consideration is whether your fence is going to run perfectly level or whether it's going to run uphill or downhill. This one is going to run perfectly level, and that should make it quite easy to install. However, if you're going to run it uphill or downhill, I've got a few tips for you. So if your fence is on a hill like this, I would recommend starting at the lower section. Now, the reason I say that is, once you've put your first post in, you can start your gravel board just at ground level, and then when that runs, that can disappear into the ground. When you come to put your next post in, you can set it the same as that one, so it sits exactly 30 centimeters up, and then as it runs, that will disappear into the ground. And that way it saves loads of time and effort trying to work out the drops in each panel. So in this instance, the fence is going to run from the front of the garage up to an old existing fence, and we're going to follow the line of these retaining slabs. Now, these are not quite in line, they do curve slightly. However, if you wanted your fence perfectly in line, then what you can do is you can get something like this, a string line, put a stake at one end of the fence, a stake at the other, pull that tight, and that means when you come to put your posts in, they'll be perfectly in line. If, like me, you're a bit of a perfectionist and you want everything to look spot on, then I recommend you do the following. If you measure your fence panel and take a note of the measurement, do the same with your gravel board, and then we can transfer them to your posts. So if you get your tape measure and put on the top of the post itself, and then come down your post and transfer that measurement for your panel onto the post itself, and then from that measurement we've now got 31 centimeters for the gravel board, and again we can make a mark there, and then that should give us at least 600 in the ground, and that will be ideal. What that also means is when we come to set the gravel boards, we know that the top of the gravel board needs to be on these marks. That means the fence panel will sit perfectly right at the top of the post. The next stage is by far the worst stage of fencing, and that is digging holes for the fence posts. So a few rules: they need to be 60 centimeters deep, they obviously need to be wider than the post, and I'd say probably 2/3 bigger than the post itself. That'll give you a nice strong anchor. So I've already dug some of these holes. Now, if you're doing a long run, I'd suggest only doing a few at a time, otherwise you're going to end up digging them in the wrong place. Now, when it comes to digging, there's loads of different methods and loads of different tools you can get. You can get just a traditional spade, but you end up with a hole too big. You can have something like this, a trenching spade, which is ideal. I've got these post hole diggers, and you can just put them in the hole, pull, lift it up, and it takes out all the rubbish out the bottom of the hole. Really good. And another thing is one of these are an auger bit, and you can just turn that around in the hole, pull it out, and it gives you a nice clean hole. They do take a little bit of work. However, if you've got bricks, blocks, concrete like I have, that won't cut it. You can use something like an SDS with a chisel bit, but again, you're very limited. So what I've got is one of these big Kangos. Now, I've had this for about 7 or 8 years, and I paid about £170 for it from Screwfix, and it's been absolutely brilliant. If you can get one of these or hire one of these, it's well worth the effort. To install this first post, what I'm going to do is actually just drop it into this small hole. The hole is not very deep because we've got the footings for the garage, and I don't want to disturb them. So what we're going to rely on is some mechanical fixings to hold this into place. So to fix the concrete post to the wall, I'm going to be using these. Now these are concrete screws, and they're absolutely brilliant. All you need to do is drill a 5.5mm hole into the brickwork, and they just screw straight in and create their own thread. I've got a dedicated video on how to use these, fixing some timber to the wall. So that's the post mechanically fixed. I've put 4 concrete screws in that, and then in the bottom I'm just going to put a small bit of postcrete just to hold the bottom of the post in place. Now postcrete is really easy to use. You could use concrete, you could use any rapid setting post fix, whatever you like. I just use postcrete because that's what we've got. So with postcrete itself, a few little tips that they don't tell you. Now, I don't put it straight into the hole. What I do is get the hose and fill the hole with water. And then if you get your postcrete, I just normally cut the corner off the bag, and that just gives you something to tip that out and keep it nice and controlled. And then if you tip that into the hole, now the trick is with this is to get yourself a stick or something like that, and make sure you work this all the way around the post. Now because we've got mechanical fixings in this, we don't have to worry too much, and I also don't want this too high because we've got to put the gravel board in. But as you can see, that's already starting to mix. We're just going to top that back up with a bit of water. And then I can just top that back up with some postcrete. And again, using the stick, you can just spread that around and ensure it's all the way around the post. So the next thing we need to do is get the ground level for putting in this concrete gravel board. Now we've got a mark here and a mark over here, and that is a perfectly level line for this gravel board to sit on. So I'm just going to scrape away a bit of this. And then we can drop the gravel board in, and then we can look at getting the next post into place. The next thing you need to do is make sure that your gravel board is level. So if you put a spirit level onto the top of it, make sure it runs in line. And you can use any of the bits you've used to dig out, any of the bits of concrete, to hold this gravel board into place. So once you've got that level, you can then look at getting your next post into place up to the end of this gravel board. So now you've got 2 options here. You can just install this post, get it totally level, side to side, front to back, and then you can use postcrete again and put that into place. Now, postcrete takes about 10 minutes to fully go off. I normally leave it about 20 minutes. However, if you want to make life easy for yourself, you can actually put your fence panel in as you build the fence itself. Have you subscribed to my channel? Well, if not, why not? It does not cost a thing. You're missing out on loads of great content. If I'm not making things like this, I'm fixing shed roofs, I'm mending doors, windows, doing plumbing or electrics. You name it, I've got it on my channel. So head over, hit that subscribe button, and don't forget to leave this video a comment and a thumbs up, and that will help it reach loads of other people. So the other option to speed up installing your fence is to put the panel into position, make sure it sits right in at each end, and then you can get your post, slot it over the panel, and then when you concrete that into place, that is your fence already done. The only problem with doing it this way is you need to take the panel out to paint it, or at least to paint both the edges. So now you've got your post in, you can make sure it's level, make sure you level it front to back and also side to side. If you've got the panel in, it's pretty much guaranteed going to be level side to side. So once you've got your post level, here's a really good top tip. When you've dug out your posts and you've got some rubble left over like I have, what you can do with this is you can use it to wedge your post into place. Now that means when you let go, that's going to stay exactly where you left it. Then you can add your postcrete or your concrete, let it go off, and your post will sit nice and straight. And now we can just repeat the exact same process along the course of the fence until you come to the end. So that is the end of the fencing, and the overall result looks really good. I'm really pleased with it. You'll see that all the tops sit perfectly in line how they should do, and the fence is nice and level. One thing I will point out is that this last panel is actually cut down to suit, and I've got a separate video for that coming out in the next week. So I hope you like the video. Don't forget, give this video a thumbs up, leave me a comment, and don't forget, hit that subscribe button.